Hey crafty people, it's Tasha and I'm back with another video tutorial for WOW Embossing Powder. Autumn is my absolute favourite season and I'm taking inspiration from the gorgeous colours that nature creates at this time of the year for today's card. I've got a whole range of embossing powders and embossing sparkles that I selected from our Thankful Autumn category, along with this panel of gold hot foil that I previously did with a solid foil plate. I've got die sets from A Pocket Full of Happiness and Sizzix. Okay, the powders that I'm using today are all going to be listed and linked below in the description box, or there will be a visual supplies list on our blog. But we've got In the Park and Fresh Stem, Apple Red, Orange Twist and Metalline Flame, Chocolate Caramel Pearl, Crusty Copper and Mud Pie, and then last but not least, Burnt Toffee and French Toast. Now I've prepared some panels off camera just by smooshing my ink pad directly to the cardstock, covering it in my chosen colour before thoroughly heat setting it from behind with a really hot heat tool. A couple of my colours look particularly stunning on darker backgrounds too, so I'm also doing them on some brown as well as the white panels, which are all WOW cardstock. Now, I really love watching the powders melt and seeing how they change. It never gets old. So I've die cut 2 of the Wreath hoops from my Sizzix die set. And I'm going to do something a little different to get more of a kind of organic wooden feel for these. So I want to be sure that they look like they've been formed from an assortment of different wooden branches. So once I've really covered them in my WOW embossing ink, I'm sprinkling a combination of different browns. So starting with Crusty Copper, and I'm selectively adding this just in certain places on each of those hoops. Then I can funnel the excess back into the jar before adding some Chocolate Caramel Pearl. Same again before covering all of the remaining space with Mud Pie. Now I'm heating it all really well from behind again, and then I can just fill any gaps by pressing just those little areas directly onto my ink pad and covering in one of the 3 brown powders that I've used. So this is going to give me a really good coverage all over both of those die cuts. I also have my panels of gorgeous autumnal goodness, including both of the panels of Metalline Flame and Chocolate Caramel Pearl, and the gold hot foil panel too. So off camera, I spent a rather insane amount of time die cutting a whole bunch of the little pieces that you get to build out your wreath so I cut them all from these panels, and then also some brown and green coloured cardstock from my stash. So you can see there that I've got them all safely in a couple of little die cut savers that I like to keep handy for just these kind of times. To round out my various elements, I've cut the crisscross background die, which is one of my favourites, from Nina, £80, and I've got this Hero Arts stamp set that's got some really lovely autumnal sentiments, and I've embossed a couple of those in polished gold and cut them out with the coordinating dies. So I love all of the holes that are in this background die, and I'm going to layer it on top of a panel of that dark brown cardstock. But I also want to have a bit of a border showing, so I'm actually going to trim down the panel to the faux stitching line that's around the edge. Then I can add plenty of liquid glue to adhere the trimmed die cut panel onto the centre of an A2 panel of brown cardstock. It's the same as I've used for the little die cut leaves. Now you can absolutely leave the die cut elements for the wreath as single layer pieces, but personally I like to stack mine high to create more interest and drama. Now I use a few different tools to help me with this because those pieces, especially the really small ones, can be tricky little things. So I've got my jewel picker tool. It's double-ended. It's got a wax tip one end and then a kind of pokey, proddy tool on the other. Then I've also got various pairs of reverse action tweezers. Now I'm adding dots of glue and offsetting the flower layers to give them a much fuller look. Then, to make sure that the layers stick really well, I like to pinch them together with my tweezers and set them aside like that whilst they dry. I also want to adhere one of the wreaths onto my background panel now. Then I'm going to cut the other one up into little bits and pieces, and I'm adding those onto the one that I've already got on my background just to fill it out a little bit more. Now, when I'm sticking any of this wreath down, I'm adding dots of glue and leaving as much as I can without any glue so that I can tuck some of my other elements behind it. I want to weave some of the different branches and leaves and flowers, weave them in and out of that kind of wooden hoop that's the basis of my wreath. Then I'm going to start assembling now. Now I always like to have loads more pieces than I expect to use because I don't want to run out and not be able to finish my design. I can't really explain why I'm putting things where I am doing. So I just tend to start with the largest pieces and then build out from there really. I'm careful not to put glue all over the pieces as I add them so that I can still tuck pieces behind them. Now, don't be afraid to trim away any unnecessary bits when you are just wanting a piece to just peek out a little bit from behind others. You can trim some of it down to make it easier to get that behind. One thing that I did forget to do today though is use foam adhesive behind some of the pieces that are going to be the very front of my arrangement. I always do this. I don't know why I didn't on this occasion, and I didn't even realise until I was nearly done with the design. But I really don't like it being all flat. I like it to have more dimension. I just think that looks nicer. It's just more pleasing for my eye, personally. Using my pokey tool and my reverse action tweezers to really gently peel it back, and then I re-adhered them but on some small pieces of foam adhesive. Now, I don't want the floral arrangements to go all the way around my wreath. I'm making two arrangements basically. So if we imagine that the wreath is a clock face, the large arrangement runs roughly 1 to 7 o'clock, and then I put a smaller arrangement that sits around 9 o'clock. Now, I've also sped up all of this assembling portion because I think it would be a bit tedious to watch it as it's not the quickest of designs. I've said it before though, and I really enjoy these very peaceful and mindful tasks. I stick my music on and I just go about the arranging whilst singing, and honestly it's my happy place. Once I have all of the florals and foliage in place, I can add my sentiment, and to raise it up higher than my florals, I'm adding 2 layers of that same foam adhesive squares. Now, I said I always make more than I'll need, so I actually did manage to get a second card out of it. I used the same background die, then I cut a circle of heavyweight vellum, and then I cut the next size up circle from my layering dies from gold mirror cardstock. Now, I went for a simpler floral design this time, but I don't think it's any less beautiful. Those circular sequins really pull out the circles in the background panel as well as my focal element, and that just ties it all in really nicely. I finished my wreath card off in the same way too, with some gold sequins scattered throughout. And that's it. Here are my 2 designs using a gorgeous autumnal colour palette of beautiful embossing powders to inspire these little celebrations of the season that I love the most. Don't forget to check out the Thankful Autumn Collection category on our website, and for more inspiration you'll find a roundup of DT projects that draw inspiration from this time of year on our blog too. I'll link it all below. Now you'll also see a special offer that we have running this week for 15% off the entire Thankful Autumn category. So if you are watching this in November 2025, then you should definitely check that out. Let me know in the comments below what you are thankful for this autumn. Now, as cheesy as it might sound, I am thankful that you've spent this time with me today. Now, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all the things. Have a lovely, happy, safe, wonderful, and blessed week. Stay crafty. Bye.